Hi, I'm Laura Buller, and I'm presenting an overview of my final annotated bibliography for this semester. According to a recent Fox News article, and I quote, "It turns out at least one part of publishing has a diverse slate of authors, the books most likely to be pulled from school and library shelves." The American Library Association about a month ago released its annual list of the 10 books receiving the most complaints from parents, educators, and others in the local community. Sherman Alexie's prize-winning autobiographical novel of high school life, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, ranked number 1. According to a study compiled last fall by the website Diversity in YA, which advocates diversity in young adult literature, around 20% of books that appeared on the Library Association's Challenge Books list since the year 2000 have been by non-white authors. Diversity is slim throughout all genres of books and across all age groups, except when it comes to books challenges, wrote the report's author Melinda Lowe, herself a young adult novelist. Why is this? Is it because of weak, authentic writing, or perhaps due to cultural insensitivity? We'll pursue this later in the presentation. Today's classroom is represented by students of very diverse ethnic and cultural backgrounds. It is the responsibility of educators, especially teachers and librarians, to search out texts which are reliable and reflect accurate historical facts and perspectives. It is also the responsibility of educators to provide and present truthful existing curriculum and/or to revise it so that untruths are not the continuum. Many misinterpretations in written materials have led to the false characterization of women, African American, Native American, Latino, Asian, Jewish, and Middle Eastern cultures and peoples. This in itself gives me an understanding and agreement with Donna Norton's introductory statement that a heightened sensitivity to the needs of all people has led to the realization that literature plays a considerable role in the development of understanding across cultures. From her 5-phase approach to the study of multicultural literature, the ancient myths and folktales to contemporary literature, you will find the varied genres reflected in my bibliography. A quick question. Where did you first learn of Sacagawea? Was it as a guide for the Lewis and Clark expedition? Who did you learn it from? Sacagawea, in truth, was so much more than that and not officially a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Finding the truth, seeking out accurate information matters. As a science teacher, I very happily agree with Galileo Galilei, who stated that all truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. The aims and objectives of this study centrally focus on utilizing multicultural literature to increase understanding of diversity, particularly Native American and Latino cultures, among young children and middle school age students. As an educator, my intent is to engage young students in conversation and a discussion of diversity and their present knowledge of the two cultures through a review of high-quality writings. Yes, from myths to contemporary literature, historical fiction and nonfiction, which all substantiate these cultures. As I have evaluated books for high-quality Latino and Native American material, there were 5 particular criteria for selecting and evaluating text, which Norton spelled out in her textbook, and which applied to both studied cultures, and I state these here. Number 1, do the illustrations depict individuals, not stereotypes? Does the author respect the culture? Is the language free from derogatory terms? Does the author recognize the diversity of the culture? Are the customs authentic? And lastly, are problems handled realistically, not solved by Anglo-Saxon Americans? Additionally, outcomes and goals will reflect that students have an increased knowledge and therefore greater understanding of Native American and Latino cultures and educational systems. A compiled annotated bibliography of the study is the result. As examples, I've chosen 2 particular books from the annotated bibliography which portray accurate information of both the education and cultures of the Latino and Native American peoples. The first is the Book of Latino Culture, which is available in both English and Spanish and has won an American Award and Lambda Literary Award. It is Friends from the Other Side by Gloria Anzaldúa. In her book, Anzaldúa introduces the story. She states, "I grew up in South Texas, close to the Rio Grande River, which is the Mexican-U.S. border. When I was a young girl, I saw many women and children who had crossed to this side to get work because there was none in Mexico. Many of them got wet while crossing the river, so some people on this side who didn't like them called them wetbacks or mojados. This is the story of Pritita, a brave young Mexican-American girl, and her new friend Joaquin, a Mexican boy from the other side of the river." The story then continues with Pritita, the protagonist, outside in her yard when the boy Joaquin happens to travel by in his quest to sell firewood. They talk. Then Pritita sees that Joaquin has sores on his arms and he has a different Spanish accent or dialect. When she asks whether he has escaped into America across the river, he is perhaps both scared and embarrassed, and he hurriedly leaves. Throughout the course of the story, Pritita attempts to befriend and warn him of danger, specifically when border guards, La Migra, are about. Pritita understands that many of the problems Joaquin and his mother faced in Mexico, they now face in the United States. Fear of no food, money, proper shelter, and derision from all sides for being poor and afraid. This book presents the problems that many immigrants from Mexico face. Many immigrants of other ethnicities face the same problems, so it is a common thread through among many people. Being new in a country, sometimes bullied even by your own ethnic group, and trying to understand a new culture and language are experiences of anyone new to a strange country. Pritita is a good role model for standing up for what is right, what you believe in, not being frightened even by La Migra, and that name-calling is not acceptable by anyone, anywhere. The book is presented with English on one page, Spanish on the facing page, and many Spanish words explained. I believe it could easily be read by students in 2nd through 4th grades. This is a book which should be utilized in the classroom for discussion of the experiences of Latino immigrants, also the similarities that are common to all people, and the understanding what should exist between different ethnicities. The second book I would like to cite is entitled Where the Broken Heart Still Beats, written by Carolyn Meyer. The book has won several awards, among them a Rebecca Cottle Young Reader's Book Award nominee. The content and vocabulary would befit students from 5th through 8th grades, and is a captivating story of very real persons, Cynthia Anna Parker and her cousin Lucy. I was captivated with the story myself, historical fiction, wherein Meyer writes between the lines to produce the story of the diary written by Lucy, filling in the gaps to make the story come alive. At 9 years of age, Cynthia Ann Parker was taken prisoner by a band of Comanche Indians who referred to themselves as Nurmana, and not located again until 25 years later. That's a lot of living for a young girl, and it's likely that much of her very early childhood was blocked out mentally to save her own sanity. She has now become a Comanche woman, wife of a chief with 2 sons, one of whom will become a well-known chief himself, Quanah Parker. However, as Cynthia is brought back to the world of the white man, she is unsettled, unhappy, and attempts several times to escape back to her husband with or without her young daughter, Tapsana. The life as Cynthia lives it is interchanged for the life of her cousin, who writes the diary and who also is her most loyal supporter and seems the most understanding of Cynthia's adopted Indian culture. The Indian way of life is detailed and authentic, the description of hunts, making clothing, preparing food, and even transportation and moving days. Thus, cultural differences are avidly displayed. It is a very sad book, yet difficult to put down once you begin reading. I believe this book very aptly named. There's a Native American saying which speaks so directly for Cynthia Ann Parker. It states, "Run your fingers through my soul. For once, just once, feel exactly what I feel, believe what I believe, perceive as I perceive, look, experience, examine, and for once, just once, understand." In conclusion, in regard to the question of challenging Sherman Alexie's The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, Alexie was drawing upon his own experiences as an American Indian at a virtually all-white high school, and the book is recognized by the ALA and with other awards too numerous to cite, which extend from 2007 to 2011. In my evaluation, this writing conforms to Norton's 7 criteria for selecting and evaluating Native American literature and should remain recommended quality reading material with a suggested reading age of 14 years to adults. It is also highly recommended that the entirety of the text be read, so that the context is not lost. Alexei is a good example of a Native American author with a sense of humor, rising above twisting events, an individual who loves his native tribe.